What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? Get your libations. Get whatever you need. Get whatever you need to get through the show, fam. Listen, do not forget, if you are in there, if you are in the box right now, do not forget. Please do not forget to hit that like button. Also, do not forget, before I forget, December the 10th. December the 10th. The half has never been told. That is a Thursday. We will be reading that. Please, 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 please make sure you read it. It's a long read, so it's not going to be one of those books you're going to be able to pick up later and just catch up on. You just want to catch up on unless you're a super duper fast reader. And I am not a fast reader. I don't know about you. But please, please, please pick that up. That is December the 10th. The half has never been told. We will be discussing that. That will probably be a 2-part show just because of how thick that book is and how much people are probably going to have to say about it. So might want to plan for Friday as well. Please hit that like button. Please hit that bell if you are not getting notifications. Please make sure that you do that. Please make sure that you do that. I would absolutely appreciate it. Also, if you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, subscribe to brown.com. Subscribe, not the number 2, tobrown.com. Cost you no monies. Right now, I'm not going to do right now. I'm just giving it out. And then, what happens later is what happens later, because I started giving it out kind of free during COVID. But you add your name to my mailing list. And I do not spam you. So please do that. If you want to donate through chat, $breakingbrown, you can do that as well. But hitting that bell, hitting that subscribe button, if you have not hit that sub button, costs you nothing as well. So I would appreciate it if you did all of those, especially the free stuff. That costs you no money. You have no excuse not to hit the like button. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to hit the like button. And if you are not subscribed, you are missing out. So please do those things for me. Fam, let's get into it. Let's get into it. There's nothing to it but to get into it, fam. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. It's a lot of foolishness. It's just a lot of foolishness. And the foolishness is a lot of ridiculousness. Ain't no other way to say it. Ain't no other way to put it. We're supposed to have an agenda. And like I said, this is not going to be complicated. But like this people messing with our heads. And it's the Democrat versus Republican. And they're telling us different things. They're manipulating us, and they're using our trauma and our pain and our pride and our idea of ourselves and do for selferism. They're using all of that to kind of coerce us into voting as opposed to giving us an agenda. Now, I'm talking about the Democrats and Republicans. And if you don't believe me, the only thing that you have to do is just go and check the news of the past 3-4 days. So what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, Yvette? What do you mean go check the news for the last few days? What's that talking about? Okay, let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it really quick. Right? It's because it's all very interesting. So let me put this up. For those of you who haven't seen this story, please just take a look at that for me. If you have not seen that story, that's a story that you should take a look at. Jared Kushner criticized after saying Black Americans need to want to be successful. Now understand what this is. For those who don't know, I need you to understand what is happening here. This is a ploy. This is a do for self a ploy, which normally works. Normally you say this kind of thing and it works. But let's get into what was actually said. We have to, how we believe in specificity around here. We don't just go around talking about people all loosey-goosey. We say what we need to say. No loosey-goosey going around here, okay? We say exactly what was said. We're going to hold you to exactly what you said. So here's what was said. White House advisor and President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, came under heavy criticism after he said Monday that Black Americans have to want to help themselves in order for the president's policies to help them. Kushner said on Fox and Friends that the president can help can help people in the Black community break out of the problems that they're complaining about, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. So he can't help you because, you know, we slurred and lazy and we just don't want to help ourselves. Apparently, that's what he's saying. This is in case of you, for you all who don't know, what you call this is pathologizing blackness, where you say these people have something culturally wrong with them. This goes back to you haven't read the Moynihan report. Go all the way back. They say there is something intrinsically wrong with us where we don't have the capacity. Go all the way back to slavery when they said that we could not be freed. They said that we could not be freed because we did not have the capacity to be successful. We did not want that for ourselves. And that was part of the rationalization for putting us in keeping us and maintaining slavery. And then after that, the black codes, part of that rationale has always been, well, these people don't really want it and they can't do it no way. They don't have the capacity. They are not capable. They are not able. Right, and a lot of do-for-selfers have picked that up and said, you know, they right. We sure will. Got to be doing better. We got to be doing better by ourselves. They right. They can't want more for us than we want for ourselves. But let's continue with what the article says, shall we? Let's just continue. That was the first part. Let me just go to this next part right here. He also said that many people in the anti-police brutality and discrimination protests that followed the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis were just virtue signaling. I suppose he's talking about some white people. I don't know, and I'm not saying all white people that way, but I don't know what this is supposed to mean. A term for empty gestures of outrage and anguish on social media. Oh yes, these are the liberals that come out for the protest but don't really want the policies. Are you talking about them? Still doesn't give you any cover. Oh, Jared. They go on Instagram and cry, or they would, you know, put a slogan on their jersey or write something on a basketball court. Oh, he's lashing out at the NBA. Kushner said, dismissing the expressions of outrage and solidarity that many made after video surfaced of Floyd being pinned with the police officer's knee on his neck, basically suffocating him to death. Quite frankly, that was doing more to polarize the country than it was to bring the country forward. You solve problems with solutions. See, here's the thing. That is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever heard. Yes, you solve a country's problems with solutions. Somehow America has not had a solution for ADOS since the inception of the country. Somehow you don't have a solution. The solution is not opportunity zones. None of that is a solution. You don't have a solution. But to say what you said in the sense of, you know, the problem is law and order, right? The problem is that we don't have law and order. Quite frankly, that was doing more to polarize. Sir, the thing that has polarized this country is the fact that a black man, not only can be murdered in broad daylight by a police officer. The thing that has hurt has also been the fact that was videotaped. People were telling him that you're killing him. And the officer smirked and still did what he did. And he can walk away with that with impunity. That has divided us. And rightfully so. The problem is, if you look at George Floyd's life, he had a life of failure in the sense of you can't find work. You can't be fully American. Yes, that's the problem. That led to that incident. You know, even when we talk about people saying, oh, George Floyd had used drugs. If you know anything, if you read anything about addiction, you know that it is directly tied to some kind of pain. What do you think that pain was, Jared? Let me tell you, though. It's a pain that you want to manipulate for elections. You and the Democrats have that in common. Y'all are all manipulating black pain, black trauma, ADOS pain, ADOS trauma, ADOS anxiety, to get votes. It's an outreach program for you. But see, the thing is, Jared, you don't mind if I call you that, because I don't respect you enough to call you anything else. And I don't even like this little Obama guy, but he's right. Jared Kushner's family connections have provided him his only opportunities in life, and he still failed miserably at every single thing he's done. So perhaps it's Jared who doesn't want to be successful. Jared doesn't have the skills. Jared is the best example that you can think of white mediocrity. When you look at the Trump White House, the only thing you see is white mediocrity. He was supposed to get the pandemic plan together. Get all the pandemic plan and get the people together. It didn't happen. It didn't happen because he doesn't have any skills. It doesn't happen because he never had to develop any parts of himself that were useful to anybody except himself and his own aggrandizement. See, that's the problem. And if you don't believe me, we can have a conversation about it. And let's also have a conversation about how he's not the only one who does that or who believes that. This is a trope. See the way America gets away. There's a way America gets away with saying stuff to us that they could never say to nobody else. So the way that they get away with it is, we see. Okay, Negroes, we understand. We understand, Negroes, that you are behind. We understand, Negroes, that you have been oppressed. But the trope that we're going with is that you just need to try harder. That's Jared's line. Now, it has been an effective trope in the past, right? But it's a lie. It's always been a lie. It's never been true. See, George Floyd didn't have anything. He had nothing. He really had less than nothing. The only thing he had was I think a 6'6" body that scared everybody. So he could only work to make use of his body. And when the pandemic hit, he didn't have any kind of work anymore. There was nothing for him anymore. He had gone into to rehab to kind of get himself together, but then he didn't have any work. He lost friends. His mother had a stroke, and you're looking at homelessness in the face. Now let me just contrast. We're gonna have to contrast that to something else. So what's the difference between the lives? Jared Kushner says try harder, right? George Floyd did try. There's a great article about him that I put in the newsletter, which I'm going to pull from in a second. He tried and tried and tried again. But Kushner lived a life where he never had to try. You ain't never got to try. He lived a life where he had a father who made it to where he didn't have to try to do nothing. Oh, it must be nice to be suckled at the teat and just not have to work hard in school, not have to get a good SAT score. No, because your daddy got money. How did less than stellar high school student Jared Kushner get into Harvard? Yes, how does this slow kid win the race? How does that happen? It didn't happen because you tried harder. You didn't try harder. It happened because the stolen wealth of this group, the plunder, right, has been maldistributed to other people, and that plunder was used to get you into school you never deserved to go to. Do y'all know legacy gets people into legacy in terms of, and this is not his case because his dad went to NYU and he went to Harvard. But do y'all know legacy gets people into schools more than affirmative action? Right? But in his case, the daddy said, I'm gonna pay this off. So let's see what Papa did. My book exposed a grubby secret of American higher education, that the rich buy their underachieving children's way into elite universities with massive tax deductible donations. It reported that New Jersey real estate developer Charles Kushner had pledged $2.5 million to Harvard University not long before his son Jared was admitted to the prestigious Ivy League school, which at the time accepted about one of every 9 applicants. Nowadays, it accepts 1 out of 20. Now let's go on to the next quote. There was no way anybody in the administrative office of the school thought he would, on the merits, get into Harvard. A former official at Frisch school in Paramus, New Jersey, told me his GPA grade point average did not warrant it. His SAT scores did not warrant it. We thought for sure there was no way this was going to happen. Then, lo and behold, Jared was accepted. It was a little bit disappointing because there were at the time other kids we thought should really get in on the merits. And they did not. Shocking. Shocking how money buys everything in this country, and after it's bought, the people who bought it tell us to try harder when we built the country that they bought it in. Isn't that something? Charles Kushner differed from his peers on the committee in another way. He had a criminal record. What you know it? Thugs everywhere. Ooh, thugs. 5 years after Jared entered Harvard, the elder Kushner pleaded guilty to tax violations, illegal campaign donations, and retaliating against a witness. And we'll get to that Christie part in a minute. Charles Kushner had hired a prostitute to seduce his brother-in-law, who was cooperating with federal authorities. Kushner then had a videotape of the tryst sent to his sister. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison. Won't you know it? Won't they? Ooh, see, the thing is, let me just say something else. One of the advantages of whiteness, one of the prizes of whiteness is not having to have shame, right? Right? You know, he donated his Kushner's dad donated the maximum to I think it was a Democratic senator since he was 11. The senator was Ted Kennedy. And Ted Kennedy helped get him into Harvard as well. You see, the money is spread around, and then when somebody gets charged with, when you get charged with sending a prostitute somewhere to do some stuff, you're not shamed for it. Why would a man, we could never have a president or an advisor in the White House if your daddy had committed all these kinds of crimes, hiring prostitutes to set up your brother, set up your brother-in-law so your sister can't testify. What kind of crimes are these? Oh, but you know, we get called thugs and all kinds of stuff, and they get to do all this kind of stuff, and nobody shames them. Well, he's Jared Kushner, you know, his father is so and so and so and so. His father's a thug. No morals, immoral, just amoral, sociopathic. I'm gonna set up my sister. What? We don't even have, let me just slow down for a second. We don't even have a space to kind of understand somebody who would do something like that. We don't even have a space. Just go do your time. Don't try to set up your sister's husband, was it, with a prostitute? What kind of stuff is this? And even Christie said it's not just us. Let's talk about who this man is before we get into the other stuff. Christie, Jared Kushner's father, committed one of the most loathsome and disgusting crimes. And wait a minute. How you gonna tell me something who you preaching to? So let's go into what he did, this loathsome person. Because Christie's talking about, you know, he was a prosecutor. He's talking about Jared Kushner's father, the lowlife. So, you know, who hired a prostitute to do this kind of stuff and was convicted criminal. That's some awful stuff. So let's just go and talk about it. He says, this is Christie talking. If my father is guilty, I would. Mr. Kushner pled guilty. He admitted his crimes. And so what am I supposed to do as a prosecutor? I mean, if a guy hires a prostitute to seduce his brother-in-law and videotapes it, and then sends the videotape to his sister to attempt to intimidate her from testifying before a grand jury, do I really need more justification than that? Oh my goodness, this is some real hood stuff right here. I mean, it's one of the most loathsome and disgusting crimes that I prosecuted when I was U.S. attorney. And I was a U.S. attorney in New Jersey, Margaret. So we had some loathsome and disgusting crimes going on. That's not good to say about New Jersey, but I understand. It sounds pretty loathsome. Christie, as we just talked about, was referring to an elaborate revenge plot that the older Kushner hatched in 2003 in order to get his brother-in-law, William Schulder, a former employee turned witness for federal prosecutors in their case against Kushner, who was under investigation at the time for making illegal campaign donations. This is some awful stuff going on. As we just said, as part of the plot, Kushner hired a prostitute to lure Schulder into having sex in Bridgewater, New Jersey, in a Bridgewater, New Jersey hotel room as a hidden camera rolled. A tape of the encounter was then sent to Kushner's sister and Schulder's wife, Esther. Oh, you sent it to Esther. You sent it to Esther. Now, how could you be so? How could you be so? How could you do such a thing? See, you can't. One of the first things that we need to start understanding is who people are, as opposed to who they say they are. Yeah, you stand there with your little tie, and you stand there looking and talking down to us about who you are and who you think you are and what we need to do. And you talk about us in ways that are stereotypical and offensive. But the truth of the matter is that your father's the thug. That's not us. He's a criminal. Like when you hire somebody to do the stuff they say he did, that's some awful stuff. You done sent the stuff to Esther. Who does that to Esther? You're awful. And like your father paid your way into stuff. You don't get to tell us about work when you never did no work. You don't get to tell us about what leads to success when you never did anything to lead yourself to success. Your father's money led you to success. Nepotism led you to success. Wealth marries wealth. So that's why you are with the wife that you are. And that's why you are with in the Donald Trump White House. You have never done anything successful. Even in the White House, the only thing you have demonstrated to us is a consistent incompetency. The illegal donation kind of ties back to him donating the maximum in the name of Jared at 11. So you were donating the maximum amount in the name of your 11-year-old son. So you could then call, who was it, Kennedy, and ask him to hook you up. You have never done anything, Jared. Like in a real world where people, in a meritocracy, where you have to prove yourself, you would be working at Walmart. And no offense to people who work at Walmart. Shout out to y'all. We need people everywhere. But like you would never have risen above that level, because I have never seen anything that shows that you have competency beyond that level. I don't even think you have competency at the level of the people who work there, who have to stock shelves and make sure everything's okay. They have to cash people out. They got to be able to count. They got to be able to do a lot of stuff. I don't know if you have that competency. I don't know if you do. To have people skills and say hello and be nice to people. I don't even know. I don't think you have the competency to go to work every day and do a day's work. We have a lot of essential workers and people who work at stores and grocery stores. They know, listen, even though this job doesn't pay enough, I go to work every day and I value having to do a day's work. I should get paid more, but I do what I do. I don't think you could humble yourself enough to do what they do. At the grocery store, Walmart, anywhere. I don't think you could. How does a failure tell us? How does somebody whose life is paid with daddy's money, daddy Warbucks, tell us what we need to do? It was offensive. And it still is offensive. Well, y'all just got to work harder. There's people who work at Popeyes who get up very early and work in hot kitchens and stuff, right? And you telling them to work harder. What do you do? What have you ever done? See, on the Republican side, that's how they're manipulating us. And that stuff used to work. Pre-ADOS, that stuff used to work. You used to have boys run outside and say, well, they right. We just got to do a little bit better. We just got to do a little bit better. And we got to get ourselves together. And we got to bubbagy, boobage, boop. They used to get, it don't work no more. Now we know different. Now we understand everything. Now we understand that, no, the problem isn't us. The problem isn't America. The problem is the soil. The problem is we are a plant that has been intentionally put in soil that doesn't nourish us. We understand what it is. And we understand when Jared Kushner says that, we understand who he is. He is a failure who was made possible, whose life was made possible by his father. But there's something else. On the Democratic side, we have something else going on. Kind of similar. But same way trying to kind of manipulate our emotions. So we'll say, oh yeah, we just got to do better. Well, on the Democratic side, it's very different. You have Kamala talking about the ancestors. You have to vote to honor the ancestors. But even before we got to that, in the opening clip of Joe Biden's little thingy that he did, where he had Ella Baker in there. Let me tell y'all something. I don't agree with Ella Baker on everything. I don't agree with anybody on anything. But Ella Baker was sort of shut out. She was the mother of a movement and didn't really get the credit for it. But let me say this. I have grown kind of tired, for lack of a better word, of people who want to bring up names of our heroes, right? Without doing the work that those heroes call them to do. It's not okay for you to continue to do that. It's not okay for you to bring her up and not understand what she stood for. So even in terms of voting, right? So we talk about voting. And Biden is bringing her up to say, hey, y'all got to get out and vote. Negroes, get your, like Obama said, get your slippers on, get your shoes on. You got to get ready to go. You got to go to the polls. And after that, I'm going to forget that you exist. So I thought to myself, well, what would Ella say about voting? This person who was very grassroots, so anti-elite that she had problems with MLK. She said MLK was too elite, right? In terms of how he held himself. If you have a problem like that, if you have a person like that, what do they really say about voting? I'm sure they say just like we say you should vote. We say you should vote. In terms of Democratic down ballot, all that stuff, we say you should vote. But stop passing. We have always said voting is one tool in the toolbox. So stop passing it off as the whole toolbox, right? Stop passing voting off as the whole kit and caboodle. And I wonder, I can't remember, so let me say, what would she say just about that one thing, since Biden is bringing her up in relationship to that one thing? Well, I go and find it. Let's see what she says. So we go to it. There's somebody talking in that article about Ella Baker. Baker saw the economic justice was a key part of the struggle for freedom in general and for Black Americans in particular. Economic justice, you say, saying that if everyone suddenly had the right to vote, people cannot be free until there is enough work in this land to give everybody a job. In 1932, she joined and soon became the national director for the Young Negroes Cooperative League, which was formed in 1931 at the height of the Great Depression to seek economic power through collective networks. Now, economic power through collective networks. Now, we can talk about processes of how we all feel about how it was done and who did what, when, well, who's on third, who's on first. We can all talk about that, and we should always criticize the people who came before us. We should see them as people who are not immune from making errors, right? But you brought her up to vote, and it seems to me right there, Ella was talking about economic inclusion. Y'all haven't told me, and what we have figured out about economic inclusion is that it's gonna require reparations. That's what we figured out. There's no other way around it. Not MLK, nobody else had the data that we had today to say, aha, it has to happen. So it's not just a job, and Ella was right. You need that too. You have to have income. You absolutely have to have income. But nobody could have anticipated this kind of economic, the highest income inequality that the world has ever known. None of the people who we stand on the shoulders of could ever have anticipated that, but here we are. And in some ways, even she had the foresight. Even King called for reparations. So in some ways, they kind of saw it, but they didn't. But I bet you, I can't say what people who have passed will say. I can only say what they already said. And they all talked about economic inclusion. None of them just said go vote for the sake of voting. They all talked about at some point how we had to be economically included. So how is it that the party that we all vote for in terms of Democrats is the one telling us that we just got to go vote? Voting is a part of it. I'm going to vote. But how are you just telling me that that's all I have to do? Or how are you just telling me that that's what Ella Baker stands for? How are you just telling me that's what King stands for? How are you just telling me that's what my ancestors and our ancestors stood for when I know better? But I know why you do it. It's been done. You know, we can go way back with this. We can go way back with this. We can go way back with Oprah and everybody always saying, you got to vote because our people didn't have a right to. And I think we have to vote. But I think we have to vote for a different reason. Like our ancestors fought for us to have the right to vote, to not be excluded from the process, to be included as citizens. And we should vote. The thing we vote for, though, has to be an agenda. It can't be this other stuff. Let me bring this up. Because let me show you. People miss. And this is what I was talking about a second ago in terms of George Floyd. People miss stuff. So this was in the newsletter and it was going around too. You know, people miss that the best way to say it is that this is a different world. You know, white wealth went from, you know, like 100 trillion. People miss that. We ain't even included. But let me show you something else that people missed when we talk about what people miss. We're going to go down to the bottom of here. We talk about the 1994 crime bill. So they're talking about stereotypes. But we're going to get to something. We talk about, if y'all don't know what it is, look up unfunded mandates when we get to the bottom of this. On the hill, they talk about unfunded mandates. So let's go. The persistence of those stereotypes influenced practically every institution, the stereotypes about black men, that could have helped George Floyd as he came of age. When drug crises ripped through black communities, they resulted in the Rockefeller drug laws in the 1970s and the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act that stiffened sentences, as well as the 1994 crime bill, which funded at least $9 billion to build more prisons. Stay with me though. But multiple studies have shown those long neglect to fund the job training and drug treatment and education process they promised. So hold on. Here's the kicker. And this is what black lawmakers, when you hear people say, well, black lawmakers supported it too, they were voting for this and what was supposed to be added to this down the line and never happened. It says, for example, the 1994 law promised $2.7 billion to the Department of Housing and Urban Development over 3 years for such programs, but federal review shows lawmakers never sent the agency the money. So when you hear Joy Reid say, well, you know, black lawmakers voted for it too, and yes, they voted for this $2.7 billion too, right? For housing and urban development, because these were drug programs and drug housing and stuff like that. And they were promised to get more down the line. Guess what? It never happened. It was in the bill, never happened. Unfunded mandates, never happened. People like Joy Reid don't know what they're talking about. Now, I'm not saying everybody should have voted for it. I don't understand how I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that we have to be honest about the promises that were made to those black lawmakers and promises that were never fulfilled in terms of treatment. That's Bill Clinton. That's your man's. How long are we going to do this? How long are we going to go down this path and let people promise us stuff that we never get and we never hold them accountable? How long are we going to do that? You promised this money to us and you never gave it. You said, hey, we're not just going to put y'all in prison. We're going to give y'all some treatment too. We know y'all need help. We know how y'all live. And then you never did it. Or you gave us way more. And then there was that's billions that wasn't funded. So if you read the article, let me just bring the article back up for those of you all. If you get the newsletter, you saw it. But if you didn't, let me just bring this back up. So you know, if you read the article, there was a black man who started a treatment program. for black men. And he couldn't find the funding because he was robbed of it, because that stuff never trickled down. That's part of George Floyd's story, though. That's part of his life. And that's part of his struggle. And that's part of our politics. And let me tell you, unless we start holding people accountable, that's going to continue to happen. They're going to continue to say, yeah, you know what? It's in the bill. It's in the bill. We're going to put it in there. And then it's never going to come to us. And they're going to move it and put it in other places. It's never going to be a part of the budget. They call them outlays. It's never going to be a part of that. Politicians respond to pressure, not applause. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. I don't know. I have no idea what Kamala is talking about either. I have no idea when she says to black voters, casting a ballot is about honoring your ancestors. Let me tell you, I have never seen, or I have rarely seen anything as disrespectful as this. Okay? Now let me say first of all this. You don't get to tell me how to honor my ancestors when they are not your ancestors. I respect your ancestors no matter who you are or where you come from, unless they go back to something like Nazis or something, or slave owners. But I would never tell you, I would never go like Kamala's parents, Jamaican and Indian American, respectfully. I would never go to wherever you're from and say, I'm going to run here or I'm going to live there and have a child there. And my child was like, well, you got to respect. This is how you respect your ancestors. This is what you do with your ancestors. This is how you tell your ancestors. This is what you got to do. I would never do that. It's disrespectful. You know how you respect the ancestors? You know how you respect our ancestors? You respect them, first of all, by paying a debt, right? That is owed to their descendants. That's how you respect and honor the ancestors. Listen, we didn't pay the ancestors. We're going to honor you by paying that debt to your descendants. We honor you. That's how you do that. But Kamala, you didn't say that. Kamala, you said, I'm not going to do anything just for black people. No. Same thing you did in that 60 Minutes interview. You're not good at this. I don't know who thought you were good enough for prime time in terms of national politics, but you're not. Hate to be the one to tell you. Hate to be the one to do it. Doesn't make me happy to be the one to have to tell you that you're not good at what you thought you were good at. But you don't get to tell us how to respect you know how else you respect our ancestors? With specificity. Specificity is wonderful. Prescribe ADOS as a lineage, right? And we are a specific group, specific from all other groups. So we are our own. So you have ADOS and you have black immigrants, and you probably need to break black immigrants up too by country, because a lot of them are even shoehorning in on like Caribbean heritage or whatever, if Africans didn't get here to the 1990s. But you probably have to kind of disaggregate to understand the real cost of ADOSness. It's not divisive at all, but that's a different cost. There's nothing divisive about saying, hey, we have to count our cost. So we have to kind of remove ourselves from everybody else to count the cost. That's just what has to happen. That's the way to honor the ancestors, though. Lineage, reparations is a way to count the ancestors. You can honor us. Let's see. You can honor us with an agenda. Like you can honor the ancestors by giving their descendants like an actual agenda, as opposed to telling us every time that it's time to vote that we just got to get outside and we got to vote. See, here's what Kamala said for those of you all who didn't see it. Voting is about honoring those ancestors, honoring what they fought for and what they sacrificed for for our right to vote. I don't know where that our keeps coming in with Kamala and Obama. It's just so weird that they just do this lineage death thing all the time. Let's not let anybody take our power from us. Let me just stop this 1 second. I'm sorry. I apologize. But let me just say this. And I do apologize. But I would respect Kamala more if she said, listen, I'm black, but I'm not ADOS. You're right. But I have, as an agenda, I think reparations is old. And I'm going to, when I go inside those rooms, I'm going to stand there and do my best to represent ADOS and try to pressure Biden into sending a reparations bill or pressuring Congress for a reparations bill. Now, I might not necessarily believe her, and I need everything in writing, but I would feel better if you said that, as opposed to just always coming out and saying us all the time. That's not what it is. So let's just go back to it. Let's not let anybody take our power from us. We know that our power and our voice, we know the power of our voice. We know at election time, the power of our voice is expressed through our vote. We're not going to let anybody take us out of this game. We are present. We are present. We are active, and we know what's at stake, and we honor our ancestors today. What are you talking about? What are you talking about in this hour? Let me just say this. Kamala is dishonoring her own ancestors. She is dishonoring them. Listen, you are the daughter of affluent immigrants, and you should own that. A biologist and a professor, a Stanford professor. That is your line. Now, we did not have that. We did not have that affluence. The thing that the title, when people say that like ADOS, we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. What do you mean calling us a monolith? We're not a monolith. We're not like that. No, the tie that binds and makes us a monolith is economically. Economically, yeah, we got a lot in common. In terms of what the middle black family is worth, in terms of having no wealth, yeah, we're a monolith there. That's the tie that binds. That is it. That makes us a monolith economically. How many of y'all raise y'all hands in the chat? How many of y'all grew up with a scientist as a mother and a Stanford professor or any professor, not just Stanford, a professor as a father? Because how old is Kamala? Even today, how many of y'all have that? Let me know. If you haven't, let me know. Because I want to know. Because I don't see that. So you can't say honor our ancestors when they aren't your ancestors. You have to come to us with an agenda. You have to come to us. I ain't seen one yet. I ain't seen nobody say they had one. You have to come with us and say, listen, this is my agenda for uplift. And let me just say, I'm not just talking to Kamala right now, but Kamala and Obama have been supremely disrespectful. It's almost like somebody sent both of them outside and say, go say they're your ancestors. Negroes won't know the difference. Just go say our ancestors and push them outside. And they say, our ancestors fought. See, nope, not me. Ain't nobody out there. Somebody, who told y'all to just go up here and co-opt a lineage because we brown? Did nobody tell y'all ADOS was here? Y'all didn't know we was here, and y'all didn't know we run this space now and we understand the con? Nobody told y'all that? Okay, let me be the first one to tell y'all that we understand. We got somebody who has a mother's a scientist. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. I love it. I love it. But the only thing I'll say is there's too many no's in this chat for you to talk like we don't have differences. That's why I'm not saying that, listen, I'm not saying that somebody else can't represent us. I'm not saying that but I'm saying you have to have an agenda. Stop coming to me with the story of our ancestors. You honor our ancestors in a very specific way with a very specific agenda. Right? That hasn't happened. People won't even allow us to have politicians who are full throat. Our politicians kowtow all the time. Make a space for that. I have so many problems with our politicians because they're so compromised. Our ADOS politics are so compromised. But I think it does say something that we've never, the president was not ADOS and then Kamala's not. We never even had that. Don't try to be me though. Tell me how you're going to help me. Say, I heard you, reparations is what you want. And that's day one on our agenda. That's what I want to hear from you, Kamala. That's day one. Y'all got a lot of day one stuff. Reparations is day one for us. Oh, I get so excited. But I want to see it on paper. And then if you don't do it, we need to mobilize to get you kicked out the second term if you get elected. If you say you're going to do something for us and you don't do it, you don't start work on that thing. Right? Like you said you did, then you get kicked out. It's not personal. It's not personal. None of this stuff is personal. It's politics. It's not personal. It's not personal at all. I ain't got nothing against you personally. I'm just, leading a movement that's agenda driven. That's what it is. And I don't see an agenda. I see you trying to anchor yourself in our ancestors. That's not an agenda. That's a problem for me. It's a really big problem. And so I think we have to stick to our guns right now. A lot of people are telling us and trying to shame us and saying, oh my God, I can't believe you ain't gonna go Biden. Biden ain't that bad. You have somebody who Biden wrote laws that put their nephew, uncle, grandpappy, all of them in jail. He done changed. Child, please. Listen, we have to stick to what we said we was gonna do. Project Takeover. Them down ballot. Some of Republicans called in. Well, I ain't got nobody. Well, vote for the dog catcher, doggone it. But you show up. Don't you disengage from this process. Do not disengage from this process. We have to stick with what we said. We're heading up to election day. People are going to try to shame us and bully us. We will not be bullied. I need you to get your spine right and understand why you started this journey. If you got kids, you better understand it because they're going to need you to stand up right now. How you stand up right now is going to determine whether or not your kids eat and thrive in this America. We have to be self-interested, not because we're selfish, because we don't have a choice. That's where we are. And so we have to understand that in this moment. And that's what I want to say. Both of these parties are trying to con us, and we got to let them know we're not for the con. We're going to show up and vote for all of our state lawmakers and all the people that we need to vote for. And all these little initiatives and ballot initiatives, we're going to show up or we're going to fill out our mail-in ballot, whichever way we got to do it. But we're going to be involved in the process. We are not going to abandon the process. We have always been go-getters. We have always protected our rights. And voting is another right. We ain't going nowhere. See, that's what they would love for us to do, go somewhere. But we're going to hold you accountable. We're going to hold you accountable. We're not going to give you the White House if you haven't done what's necessary for us. We're going to do that too. You don't like that? I know. I don't care. So anyway, fam, I'm going to give me a few seconds to set up the phones as usual. I will come to it. And then we will have a conversation. I want to know what y'all thought about Kamala, the ancestors, and then Kushner talking about we got to do whatever this little dumb stuff he said. I just want to hear what y'all got to say. So give me a few minutes. We will be back and we will have a conversation. right, fam, we are back. We are back. We are back. And we are going. Make sure I cut that off. Okay, we are going straight into the calls, fam. We are going straight in. So I am going to my first call of the night. I am going to 515. 515. What is your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
My name is... Hello?
I'm here, fam. What's going on?
My name is Jacqueline, and I'm from Iowa, and I'm just so excited to be back on the call again to talk to you. I talked to you last year, called in, and so thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I have learned a lot since the last time I called in. But yeah, what was on my mind is, so I'm here, in Iowa, kind of the, I don't know if it's a swing state or not, but like battleground states or whatever. And I caucused for Marianne Williamson back in, during the caucusing time or whatever. But obviously there wasn't enough people. I had convinced my sister and my friend to join me to caucus for her, but there just wasn't enough. But now I'm getting tons of calls and text messages from the DNC, from like Young Democrats, Women's March, the Biden campaign, all these different people. That I've been getting a crazy amount of calls. So I was like, how did I get my number? I don't know. I must have been on some list. And I answer the calls, and they're always asking me to vote for Biden, Kamala Harris, and all this other stuff. And I'm always like, do they support reparations? And then all of a sudden, the people on the phone get a little finicky, start, stuttering, and don't know how to answer the question. And this happened yesterday. We were, going to the park, and someone called, and I was like, do they support reparations? He's like, let me see if this is on my talking points, and it doesn't. And then a few hours ago, another person from Young Democrats texted me, after 2 days after I said, hey, is there at least one person on my ballot here in Iowa that supports reparations? And they texted me back a couple hours ago, and they were like, there's nobody on your ballot that supports reparations.
Yeah, tell them what's down.
They were...
Go ahead, fam. I'm sorry.
What were you saying?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, what do you want us to do then? That's the center of our policy push. So if they don't, I don't understand what they expect us to do. They're not catering to us. That's the problem.
Yeah. And so I just thought that was really interesting. It's kind of been a lot harder to like find information and call people. Because the last midterm elections, I actually called every single person on my ballot. And surprisingly, a few of them answered their phone because kind of, rural Iowa, whatever, like sometimes you'll see of local officials, the people running for office, their personal phone numbers would be online, and you can actually call directly to the politician who's running, and I've done that before in previous elections. So, yeah, I know, it was kind of shocking, but, this is a small state, so, so where I'm at, we're about Black people, ADOS people, assuming ADOS people are about 10% of the population here in this city. But yeah, I just think it's very interesting that every person that I contact when it comes to this election, they don't, answer the question about supporting reparations, and they're still kind of like, well, the guy I talked to on the phone yesterday, he's better than Trump. Trump's not going to support, reparations or racial justice and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, I understand, but, what are you guys doing? And they just kind of just start stuttering.
Well, we ain't Trump. We ain't Trump. That's what we is. We ain't Trump. I tell you that much.
Yeah.
Thank you, fam. Yeah,
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for
thank you.
All that you've taught me. And I found your show a very unconventional way. And I don't know if I should say, but like how I found you, I'm just so glad that I did find you, and I've learned a lot. And I've expanded my mind, and I'm just learning politics and doing politics a lot better. Like until I watched your show, I used to not be as active in trying to find out politicians and things like that. So I'm just really grateful. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Get them. Keep getting them in Iowa of all places. I remember that. Thank you, fam. Thank you for calling in again. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Iowa. I remember that. I was like, because I think I asked her. I might have asked her, like, does black people in Iowa? I don't remember. But I remember that call. Anyway, I'm going to 673. 673. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind?
Hi, how you doing? This is Toya Yvette from Minnesota.
What's going on with you? How you doing?
Girl, these people up here, these Democrats, been tearing me, trying to tear me up. They've been trying to bully me. I'm like, no tangibles, no vote. And they're like, oh, you can't vote. You can't not vote. You're being divisive. And I had
I don't want you not to vote.
Trying to eat me up.
I want you to vote, though. I want you to go out and vote. I just don't want you to vote at the top of the team.
I'm definitely going to vote.
Okay.
You know I'm running, so I'm going to vote.
Okay.
If I don't vote for nobody but me, I'm going to vote. But it's like, they're like, oh, you can't do that. You can't say no tangibles, no vote. And I had this older
lady. That's not our slogan. That's not our slogan.
She's been on my Facebook page. Like, oh, you're being divisive and you're a terrible person. And what kind of minister are you to tell people not to vote for the presidency and all? Oh my God, I have been fighting down here in Minnesota because they not. Ooh, it's just been really rough.
Yeah, they put
But I am really grateful to you for showing me, like for all that you have taught me, and giving us a voice. Letting us, showing us that who we are, and knowing that we are American descendants of slavery, and standing on that. I'm down here standing on that. I don't know if there are other AOs here because I don't hear their voices like I'm out there. But I'm standing on the fact that we are not going to we're just not going to give you our vote for nothing. And they get mad.
Well, they gonna stay mad. I mean, let mad people stay mad. I ain't worried about that. Like, I think, and I understand sometimes it's hard when these people, like, the thing about me is that I went through all of this with Obama. Like, I got bullied individually. Like, with Obama for years. Everybody was like, oh, you got a problem. What's wrong with you? So, it don't matter. That don't matter. We have to have an agenda. That's just what it is.
I'm not giving my vote away for nothing. When I was a little girl, they used to say, my mom used to say, don't let them have the milk if they can get they won't buy the cow if they can have the milk for free, right? And she was talking about little boys.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that with the Democrats. Okay. I mean that with anybody. I'm not giving you my vote. I'm a Green Party member. So even with the Green Party, I'm not giving you my vote unless you have a black agenda, streamlined for ADOs with reparations included. Period.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I understand.
I just wish, other ADOs here would, let me know they here. First of all, do we have a chapter in Minnesota? If not, I'm a chapter of one.
Well, we're gonna work all that out, fam. We're gonna work all that. If somebody has, people be saying they got chapters and they ain't got chapters. But anyway, if you put your name in the chat or whatever, and let's see if we have something. But we're gonna work all that out. We're gonna get chapters everywhere. Do not fret, fam. Do not fret. Do not be afraid. Yeah, we coming.
They can't bully me. I'm a girl from the south side of Chicago. They can't bully me down here in Minnesota. I'm not about to let it happen. I love you, and I thank you so much for all that you do every day on our behalf. And I'm just really grateful for you. Thank God.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you, too. And I appreciate your unwillingness to be bullied, fam. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That's what you got to do. You don't run nothing around here. You don't tell me what I'm going to do and what I can't do and what you feel I shouldn't do. What you run? What you think you do? Anyway, fam, we're going to our next call. I'm going to try to keep it moving. 267. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What is on your mind?
First I want to start off that I'm a little bit nervous because I'm like 16. But I'm just going to continue. My name is David, and I'm from the northeast part of Philadelphia.
Okay. What's on your mind,
I would like to start off with saying, I felt you in tone with my mom just watching the show a lot, and then I would be like, "Oh, this is interesting," because like my mom's spoken about ADOS before, but I've never actually, and I knew that you and Tone existed, but I've never actually watched your show.
Okay.
And I felt, and it kind of felt me come alive because I feel like it's more to just me than just being black. Like I have a culture, I have something to say, and there's something that I can be rewarded to because like it's something that's mine, and I feel like I should get it. Not trying to be like entitled or anything, but you get what I'm trying to say.
This is your culture. This is your tribe. This is what we have built in terms of America. And yes, there is a sense of pride in that, and there should always have been a sense of pride and a sense of ownership and the sense of like we are due reparations. I understand exactly what you're saying.
So I would like to start off with the voting situation. So I don't understand what it is. It's like young people in my generation that are like teenagers.
How old are you?
They're like so controlling. They're like so opinionated. They're like, it's like if you don't agree with me, then there's something obviously wrong with you. Like you either agree with them and if you either agree with them and you just be like the others, or you don't agree with them and everybody's just mad at you.
How old are you, fam? How old are you?
I'm 16 years old.
Oh, youngin'. We got a youngin' in the building. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, I'm so happy that you called in. Let me tell you, you're going to be dealing with that a long time. So it's best to get used to that. It's best to just start to get used to that now. Like, people are going to always want you to run to the pack, right? And so one of the things that you kind of have to get used to in life is that there's nothing innately wrong with you if you decide to do your own thing, because sometimes doing your own thing is a very beautiful thing. It's a very powerful thing. So you're going to have to get used to the fact that like it doesn't make you deficient, or it doesn't make you some kind of odd outsider because you're doing something different than the pack. So, you know, you're going to have to, as a young person, kind of get used to that anyway, so that you can find kind of your own kind of self-esteem from it within yourself, as opposed to looking outside to the group, because that can be very, very dangerous. But I understand, especially in that age. I get it.
And I would like to serve my opinion. I feel like neither of them should run. I'm not on anybody's side. So like neither one of the presidents are good. Donald Trump, we already know who he is, but Biden's not any better. Like when he doesn't even support reparations. As a matter of fact, I've heard him say anything for the black community, like let alone ADOS. Well, and then when he did say something about reparations, he was like, well, we're going to have reparations. We're going to have to throw the Native Americans and the Latinos in it. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve something from like their own country, but like I'm a slave descendant from the United States of America. That inheritance belongs to me. It's kind of like this. I created this scenario maybe like a couple weeks ago. Let's say like we're all in a family and our last name is Black or whatever, right? So we have our grandfather that we're all related to, which is African, so like African Black. And then we have our brothers and sisters. You have ADOS Black. You just have African. You have the Caribbean Black, Afro-Latino, and Pacific Islander.
Okay.
Let's say, like, something happens to ADOS, particularly, like, slavery in our area, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't know, something happened, so, like, now we have a lawsuit that we have to fight, right? And we're entitled to this money. But our father got killed. So who do you think the next person in that line is going to inherit that? It's going to be us. His children.
The kids,
it's not going to be like his brothers or sisters. It's going to be us, because we're the children. Like, I could understand if like the Afro-Latinos were like exactly in the same position with us in the exact same country, but that's not the case. The money that we get in the United States for us being descendants belongs to us. If you have a claim, you should go to your country and fight that out in your country.
Ooh.
But don't come here and think that you're going to act like me and impersonate me and try and replace me and try and get a step above me in my own country. Because I feel like that's not fair. I'm not saying, like, it's nice that you're here, but and yes, you are Black and all that, but you're not me. It's like you're someone else other than me. Even though we look alike, we may sound alike, but you're not me. Therefore, you're not entitled to the exact same money that I would have here.
Absolutely.
Or benefits.
Woo, you give me hope for the future. Oh my goodness, that was good. You did a better rendition than I've heard from a lot of people who are a lot older. Woo, that's a good rendition. Yes, we are not the same. And everybody else understands that. Everybody else understands. It doesn't mean that you're diminished. It doesn't mean that you're less than. It just means that in terms of reparations, we have a specific claim because there was a specific cost. And you are absolutely right. Oh, we should have faith in the youth.
And it's not like you don't have a claim. Like I said, you can get a claim somewhere else.
Yeah, you can.
And then, of course, there's the normal.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, there's the other black agenda stuff that's going to come along for just you being black.
That's
we have to have our own stuff, too, as being like the original black people here, other than natives. But that's a whole different story.
But that's a whole different story. But then we had slave ships, right? We had the slave ships. Like here, but then we had the slave ships too. And the slave ships, they brought us over here shackled. There's a cost to that, right? Oh my goodness, you absolutely right, fam. I want to thank you for calling in because we don't get a lot of young callers. So I want to thank you for calling in. And you said a mouthful. I'm gonna let you go after this, but I want to thank you so much for calling in. Because if we can get through to the young people, fam, we can get through to anybody. Like forget your grandpappy. if we can instill everything in them, if we can pour this in them and give them a political education, we own to something. We own to something. We own to something. We can do that. We own to something. We can do that. If we can help them understand that, like, what this justice claim is, we own to something. We own to something beautiful. Anyway, fam, I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 773. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, fam, what's going on? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Emmanuel from Chicago, south side of Chicago.
What's going on, Emmanuel?
But I've been listening to you for years, like for a while. My wife knows who you are. I've been listening to you for years. I've been listening to Tone since like he was on doing guest appearances on the Zoe What show. So yeah, I've been listening to y'all for years. Yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I like watching YouTube podcasts and stuff. So I've been watching y'all for years. But shout out to that brother, man, for definitely getting it and understanding what you've been talking about for years, because you have basically I'm kind of young. I kind of figured that we were different and all that, but you gave me like the structure to understand why I'm different and almost break it down to like, no, you're owed this. This is why your life is like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't went to college. You know what I'm saying? I ain't go to jail or nothing like that. And I always used to struggle, and I just never understood that. So I really want to thank you for that, because a lot of things that was going on in my life was just a direct correlation to just being a descendant of a slave. Period.
You can draw a line, can't you, fam? You can draw a line from your life and what's going on to your life to the end.
Yes, ma'am. And I've been talking to my friends for years, and I've been arguing with them, and I've argued with people at work, and I kind of sounded like I was always by myself, but I just had to break it down for them. Like I told my buddy, I said, like, bro, you realize that most black people can't even go past their grandfather. You know what I'm saying? And if I talk to the average white person, they talking about their great-grandfather, what he used to do, and the grandfather before them. And I said, we barely could go past our grandparents. Why do you think that is?
Well, yeah, because that's what poverty and accrued disadvantage kind of does. So a lot of us can trace our line back, but it's not even like when I try to go back on this side, I got sharecroppers and poverty and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's it's not like somebody who comes is like, yeah, my father was a merchant. And I'm not saying that some people don't have that story. Right. Yeah, but it's a different story.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was, and that's why. But see, I'm also glad though, because it's just basically what you and Tone are doing, man. It's nothing but that. But I'm starting to see a change in like our people. You still got some of the
old time, black folks like in Chicago. You got a lot of uppity black folks up here who just get mad at you for even questioning, what Democrats do because we're a democratic state. But I'm starting to really, see a difference in how, younger black people are starting to hold them accountable. Like, we've been giving y'all our vote for 60 years, over 90%. It doesn't matter if this many black men voted for the Republicans or, this many black women voted for the Republicans. We have overwhelmingly voted for you for over 60 years. And I'm 31. We've been doing that before I was even born.
That's
so
true.
if we have nothing to show for it, then we're going to need y'all to change this policy. And I hope that because of us, that Democrats get it together and they start putting, real people with real agendas for black people, because they're going to really start to feel, not getting our vote.
Well, I hope they feel it, because that's the only thing that will pressure them to do the right thing. They gotta feel it. People think like, well, we just gotta do it and hope they do all right. We've been doing that forever. How long?
They will though, because like I said, y'all have put in that work, and I watched it, because I was with y'all before we was even calling ourselves ADOS, because you've been talking this stuff for years. I've been down, I've been listening, because you always been on point with this stuff. And then you came with the ADOS stuff. Now this is a movement. You have been on CNN, so it's working. I can honestly say it's working. And I'm actually proud.
Thank you, fam. Well, thank you, fam.
From day one.
Oh, thank you, fam, and be proud of yourself too, because the thing about it is, thank you, fam. I'm gonna let you go after that, but I appreciate you. I want you to know that. But I think everybody needs to understand. I think everybody needs to understand that, I think everybody needs to understand that, there is no movement without the people. So, grassroots movement requires grassroots people. So, without him and everybody who calls in and everybody who's doing work in the chapters, nothing moves, nothing happens. So, I love it, and I love him, and I love everybody who celebrates. But if you don't hear it and receive it and move on it, what does it really mean, right? So, I want to thank him for that. I'm going to my next caller. I am going now to 504. 504. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Yolanda. I'm calling from Louisiana.
Hey, Yolanda.
Hi. Just got back from standing for over 2 hours to cast my early vote, and I literally got out of my sick bed to do it. I'm aching from head to toe right now, but I tell you, it's one of the most gratifying votes I've ever cast in my life. And just to show Biden and Kamala, well, this is the second time I've done it to Cedric, but just to show those guys that you can't treat us like this. We're not going to stand for it. So I've done my part. I'm doing my part trying to get family and friends to get on board with this Democratic down ballot.
Okay.
Some it's working, some it's not, but, as I said, it's worth it. I think, and I'm literally aching right now, but I'm so happy at the same time. And I just wanted to say that, and shout out to those young people that just called in tonight. They make me feel better. So, well, you guys.
We're happy. We're happy about that, and we want you to take care of yourself too. So, Oh
yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
We appreciate you getting out of your sick bed and doing everything you have to do. Now get you some rest.
Oh yeah. Thank you, but listen, the appreciation is on this end. Trust me. This space that you've created, this political education, it's I think this is something that people might not appreciate it now, or I'm sorry, some people may not appreciate it now, but I think history is going to look back on this, and they're gonna be talking about you and Tone and Breaking Brown. I'm certain of it. I feel it. So again, just thank you.
Thank you.
You take care.
Thank you. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye-bye.
And we have everybody calling in today. I mean, I think sometimes in life, fam, you just have moments, or sometimes you just have shows, which are like kind of affirmations that you're headed in the right direction. In terms of younger people, older people, whoever, they're kind of like affirmations that this is working. This is, yes, it's young, and yes, it's sometimes messy. But it's the right political direction, and we have love for each other, and that's just how it's going to be. And shout out to anybody who gets out of the bed, like, the fam who just called in, who was sick. If she can do that, anybody can do that. If you can get out of the bed and you're not well, and you can go vote, just to send a signal to the top of the ticket that we're not going to take it anymore, and we showed up, but we did not show up for you. That is a message worth sending. And so I mean, nothing but love. So I want to thank the caller. I appreciate it all. I'm going to my next caller. I'm going to 317. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Dawn, and I'm calling from Indianapolis.
Hey, Dawn.
I'm your unicorn.
Ah, unicorn. I like unicorns. What's going? Talk to me.
Well, my father was a scientist at Washington University in biological transport, and my mother worked on the Apollo missions for McDonnell Douglas aircraft and Conductron, but she didn't make the movie.
Wow. You are a unicorn. Wow. What a phenomenal story. Okay, I'm sorry.
And my grandparents were unicorns as well.
Wow.
But what I can also say is that my father was in SNCC, and my godfather, who is also a unicorn, was a Black Panther.
Mm.
And so I have a very deep appreciation for what you and Antonio Moore are doing.
Mm.
And I always want to tell you thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you've just been doing great work. I have to confess that when I first started listening to you, it was difficult for me to not take it personally that you kept saying I didn't exist. But
well, I said you were aberration.
I got over that.
Aberrations, I said. You're an aberration. Like, you're nominal. But I listen, I love the excellence. That's a wonderful story you just shared. So I'm not poo-pooing on that at all. I think that's a wonderful story. I'm just saying that, like, those are aberrational stories. Like, I don't hear that often is what I'm saying. I wish I was able to hear it more. I wish, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because what I can tell you is that, growing up, there was nobody else that looked like me around.
Mm.
And so I'm fully aware of that. My grandfather, one of my grandfathers, built his own business, and in the early 70s, when they were doing that big push for Black executives, well, it wasn't really a big push, but they were talking about it.
Okay.
One of the things that I can tell you is that national corporations approached my grandfather about being on their boards, and they're like, okay, so the board meeting's in Hawaii, here's your tickets, here's your hotel, you don't have to show up for the meeting though.
Oh.
So it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And so although I'm a unicorn, it absolutely hasn't taken me out of the awareness of what's been going on. Additionally, because I'm a unicorn, I also have the unique ability to trace my lineage back to the boat.
Mm.
And, the stories that I've had of what it took to get here. My great-grandmother was the daughter of a slave and master's son. My great-grandfather was the son of a slave and master's son.
Mm.
And so, I can completely appreciate what you're doing here.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to let you know that even from the unicorn part, you're doing good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, I appreciate that. Those are wonderful.
I do have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you have any idea how big the movement is?
I in my mind I have an estimate, but I don't think it's right. So the part of what we're doing in terms of building the C4 and having actual members who join actual chapters and kind of report back to the 501c4 will give me a better idea of how big. And also we're starting, the online platform as well. So how many people join as well? Because I need a metric. What I need is a real metric. And I have social media metric and I have some metrics from chapters or whatnot, but those are not a good enough metric for me, I believe, because I like specificity in all things. When we actually can have that count, okay, these are our official members, these are the people who come, and we have that number report back to us, and then we say, okay, now who's on our people who may not be in a place, whether it's rural or whatever, then they come to ADOS, they come to the HQ online, and we can say, okay, we have an idea of how many people. So pretty soon, I think I'll be able to say how many people in the movement. I can't say with certainty today, but I think pretty soon I'll be able to give you a number.
Super. I'm really looking forward to that. And, the other thing is, I know this is petty of me to say, but this is my second call to you, and my son was very disappointed that when I made my first call, I didn't say long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, you got it in.
Okay. Well, thanks again. I just really wanted to I always want to let you know how much I appreciate what you're doing and that you're doing fantastic work.
Thank you, and I appreciate it.
And I think get you down.
And I want to thank you, because I think it's good if a unicorn calls in and kind of tells us what that experience was like to be invited to the board meeting, but not really be invited to the board meeting. I think that is a kind of voice that we have not necessarily heard, and I think that's important. So I appreciate that you called in. Again.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You have a good one.
You too, caller. Thank you so much. Bye. We got the gambit record. We got the gambit in here tonight, fam. Pretty soon though, we'll be able to tell who all is in here and who all is dedicated to the mission. We're gonna figure that out, fam. It's only a small thing, and I want to thank her for calling. That was, oh my God, can you imagine how many stories she has coming from that line and from that particular set of parents and grandparents? Oh, I could talk to her all day. And I don't want anybody to think I'm upset at unicorns at all. I'm just saying that, it's just not the norm. But that was a great story. Anyway, Apollo mission. Anyway, let me go to the next caller. I am going to 860. I am going to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind?
Oh my gosh, I got in. I didn't think I would get in. Hello, my name is Alicia from Hartford.
Hey, Alicia.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think I would get in. I'm sending an email to one of my colleagues at work. I'm the young woman who works at Sierra Club, which I probably shouldn't be saying it, but I'm gonna say it because I don't care. I'm not scared. I just wanted to speak on one thing today in regards to me standing my ground at work.
Okay.
So recently, to talk about what you talked about tonight in regards to white people in their mediocrity. Mm-hmm. My colleague, one of my colleagues that works with me, who is a volunteer for Sierra Club, is a white woman who's middle-aged. Okay. Not going to say her name, of course. And she's from the Midwest, and I'm from the Midwest. I'm originally from Chicago. Her and I have been living in Connecticut for more than a decade. And she's been trying to do work in Hartford with the Sierra Club for a long time, and she's never been able to get any push. And I just started in August, and I've been able to galvanize and organize in Hartford around renewable energy and eradication of environmental racism and the like. Her and I had a 2-hour conversation, and it was me basically fighting her mentally in regards to her voter shaming me, trying to voter shame me and my people, in particular black men, for 2 hours. She talked about politics, and I told her, I said, this is not a good time for us to talk about politics because we're at work. and this is not a good idea because I'm going to school you, and I don't think you're ready for this. And she was so certain about having the conversation. We had the one-on-one, and she acted like a child. She told me about her life and how her people came from the bottom and how they worked very hard, and how she is white poor and she comes from white poverty. And I told her, you know, white poverty is not the same as black poverty. My people are descendants of chattel slavery. And then she threw the fact that I'm half Haitian in my face. And I said, yes, I understand that I have that ancestry, but I'm anchored in my Mississippi. And you are not about to voter shame me and mine. And in regards to what we do with our politics and what we do as a people in this country. And she almost threw her computer because she was very, very pissed. She was very, very upset. And she's a white liberal. And she was just like, you always talk about white people and how white people are an issue and how dare you, we're not racist. And I'm like, you're proving my point and how racist you are. You're proving my point and how white women are just as problematic as white men.
Uh-oh.
And she was like, oh, no. And I told her, I said, there's a book called They Were Her Property. You need to read that. You know, white women owned slaves. You need to read The Color of Law and the whole history of redlining and housing. You need to know the statistics in regards to black people. We always vote. So I don't understand why you're talking to me about voting. We always vote. And then she brought up the 8% of black men that voted, and black men need to. I said, you're not about to do that to me about my men. My men vote. You ever wonder why a large majority of my men cannot vote? Because we're in cages. And how can you expect men to vote for the man who wrote the crime bill? How can you expect my men to vote for a man that threw them in cages and they're citizens? She said, oh, you know all of the statistics. You seem well read. I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. I've done the hard work to be in this position, to be the campaign organizer for Hartford, Connecticut. So I've done the work. I don't know about you, but I've done the work. And she was like, well, I'm in poverty wages. I'm earning poverty wages. I said, but you're a married woman. Your white husband is anchoring you in your white wealth. So you can afford to volunteer to work for Sierra Club to do the work that you're doing. See, I can't. I have to get paid full time. I'm advocating for me to get paid full time. I'm living off the money that I earn. I have no wealth.
Absolutely.
And for 2 hours, this woman cried for 2 hours. And I said, I just want to let you know, I don't care about white women's tears in regards to my politics. I don't care about your tears in your racist terms. I don't care about your tears in regards to my people because you're immature right now. And you're taking this personal. This is systemic.
Ooh.
And I told her, if you want to continue to work with me moving forward with the work I'm doing in Hartford, these are the solutions. You have to be about that life of ending environmental racism. You have to be about the life of doing your work, and I will give you the books and the articles to read moving forward.
Ooh.
Now let's schedule another meeting.
Ooh, you better do the
She
work.
was like, this is not fair. Yes?
Oh, how can anybody talk to us about what's fair and not fair? We are the last people you want to talk to about what is fair. Like, these last 400 years, not fair. What does that mean? But, you done made somebody do the work? Oh, she going to be upset. Oh, she's upset.
And then I called my boss, which is her boss, after I had the conversation with her. And I said, listen, I spoke to such and such, and we had a 2-hour conversation, and I told her the truth, and I shamed the devil. I told her about my advocacy for reparations, and this is how I started this work anyway. And I reminded my boss, I said, isn't this the reason why you hired me? And my boss is also a white woman. I am one of very few black people in Sierra Club, Connecticut. And my boss was like, Ms. Jenkins, you said it right. You said her straight. She has to remember that she is a volunteer. And you're doing great work in Hartford already, so I support you. And I was like, okay.
Woo. Woo. My goodness. My goodness, my goodness. They want you to talk in the chat now.
And that was my week last week. Huh?
I said they want you to talk in the chat. They have questions. But yeah, I mean that's what you. But see, the thing is, you didn't make her cry. Like, somebody would be like, you made her cry. No, the reality of ADOS life in America made her cry. She has lived with this idea that there is a sameness and I'm poor. No, black poverty is not, like you said, it's not white poverty. It doesn't come from a systemic kind of oppression. It's not the same thing. And you insisted on having this conversation with me at work when I told you, yeah, maybe not. So that's on her. And people don't even understand when they have to take responsibility for like a situation or a conversation that they created. You wanted to have this conversation. I didn't come to you and say, we got to talk about this. I want to talk about it.
Yes.
But now that we're here, let's talk about Cancer Alley. Now that we're here, let's talk about these plants in black neighborhoods. Now that we're here, let's talk about why that happens. And you brought her to that reality. That's why she cried. She cried because of her own ignorance. That didn't have nothing to do with you, and you didn't do nothing wrong.
Yep. And I told her about, the poisoned soil in Hartford, Connecticut, and the historicity of that. Like, I wanted to have the conversation about work. She turned it into politics. And I was like, you don't want to go there. And everybody, because I came in hitting the ground running with this job, that this is my advocacy. I wrote it in my letter when I applied to work here. I said that I'm an ADOS, that I'm an ADOS advocate for reparations and the black agenda for my people, and I'm in it for the long haul. So,
absolutely,
and they hired me based off that. They remembered that I said that.
Oh, that's good. We're making headway. Oh, yeah, you absolutely right, fam. You absolutely right. You just did a masterclass. It's a masterclass in how to deal with with somebody white in your life who doesn't understand, and you do all of that, and then you give them a book to read and go on and take care of yourself. Ain't nothing going on. So.
Yes, and I want to thank you for that. And also, I think this is part of another wave of Project Takeover. Yes, take over the black institutions that we have, but let's also take over the institutions that are run by neoliberal, faux, or what progressive organizations that got their start based off Martin taking a bullet. Sierra Club got to be national based off the civil rights movement. And for them to not have black people in this space until today is very shameful. And I'm saying this because we already had an all-staff meeting talking about the issues that black people have been enduring since being part of Sierra Club for decades. And I'm part of the Black Action Team there. And I spoke about ADOS on the national level with Sierra Club. And I got so many claps and I got so much encouragement. People want to have coffee with me virtually now. And I'm not saying this like, I'm puffing my chest. But like, I'm doing this for my people. Like, I've bitten the silver bullet for 11 years. And I'm willing to move forward. So
thank you, fam. Oh, you spit fire today. I appreciate that. And that woman gonna be mad, but she better figure it out. She gotta figure it out. White America gotta figure it out. Like, especially white women who just put everything on their men. That you gotta figure it out. So I think you put in her the seed to figure it out. That's what we do, fam. We plant seeds too. So I really thank you, Carla. I appreciate you. And I did not know that history of the Sierra Club. I did not know it. I had no idea how it was linked. I was ignorant to that, but I thank you for calling in. That was a wonderful call. Ooh-wee. Thank you, fam.
Thank you.
Have a good night, and you take care of yourself. Ooh, we lighting fires out here today. Don't y'all mess up this. We on the road. Don't y'all mess up the road. Those of you on hold. Oh, she told that white lady that, and that white lady almost fell apart. She almost fell to pieces. Like, you ever buy some clothes that ain't right, and you start moving around in them, and the thread come out, and you realize that that's how she fell apart, wasn't it? Ooh, that was something. I'm going now to 312. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Oh, that's something else.
Hi, Yvette. This is James from Chicago.
Hey, James. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing all right. I just want to call and vent because you brought up that Jared Kushner article, and you spoke about it. I read it earlier today, and it just it bothered me. It frustrates me. Hearing this man talk about what the black community needs to do and how we just need to want success. It's just so frustrating because you hit it right on the head. I've been working downtown Chicago for about a decade now, straight out of college, and I cannot tell you just how many less than mediocre people are making six figures. And it just boils my blood because the work is not difficult. The work honestly can be done by high school graduates, to be 100% honest with you. I mean, I remember the first piece of advice, like a partner, sorry about that, a partner in the firm that I worked for, the first piece of advice he gave me was, forget everything you learned in college and just go with the flow. And that just like, I just spent all this money getting a degree, and I'm just supposed to just go with the flow of things. And it taught me that it's not really so much about the skill you have or what you learn, and it's not what it's about whether or not people like you and they like your culture or like the way you dress and the way you speak, and if you remind them of their kids and things like that. And so it's like perfectly acceptable, as we know, it's like perfectly acceptable to hate Adolf culture. You know, you can say something bad about Adolf culture, and you can people get away with it. And it's just so ingrained in our society, and it just boils my blood. It just really upsets me. So I don't hold a belief that our community has a problem with culture or attitude, and it's so frustrating just having to hear people like Jared Kushner, who, like you said, is less than mediocre, you know, talk about black people and Adolf people, especially when you know the data and the history of our people. You know, it's so frustrating. And it's like, whenever someone wants to come up with an opinion about something, it doesn't matter if it's whether or not you're going to a movie or going out to dinner or you're going to invest in a stock or send your kids to school. You always use three major components. You use valid history, you use valid data, and you use valid surveys. If you're going to invest in a stock, you look at the history of the stock. You look at the data of the stock, like the PE ratio or whatever. And you also look at like surveys, like what other people are doing. Are they buying it? Are they selling it? You use this data. You know, you use these three foundational pieces of information to come up with a decision about whether or not you're going to do anything. But when it comes to Adolf, people just throw all of that out the window.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to look at the history. They don't want to look at the data. They don't want to look at the surveys about attitudes in America. And it's just so frustrating because, like, people will go through lengths to just go see a movie. They'll look at the reviews. They'll determine who's in the movie, what's it about, if it's the right genre. But the moment you bring up, like, Adolf culture, all of that logic and thought process and real, like, investment of thought just goes out the window. And it just really upsets me.
Well, they need it, though. They need it, though, to go out the window. They need it to go out the window, fam. Because that's the only way you can maintain this like caste and this hierarchy is if that goes out the window. Like, if you really look at it and you take it all the way back to slavery and all of that accrued disadvantage, it becomes very apparent what your life is built on. That is built on like the oppression of Adolf. In order for you to live a life where you're carefree and have as much fun as these people have and laugh and talk as much as they talk, in order for you to do that, you have to throw the history of us out of the window, and the oppression, the 99th Fort Crime Bill, slavery, black codes, Reconstruction, the Klan. You got to throw all of that away. And so, like, there is this like collective amnesia among white America where they say, no, you can do it now only because I say so, and if it makes me feel okay to say so. I don't feel anything about you if I say so. And that's kind of where we are, you know. But I'm gonna let you finish, man. I'm sorry.
Well, that was really all. I just wanted to vent. I appreciate what you and Tom are doing. You guys stick to the data. I really appreciate that. You guys stick to the history. And I guess another thing is like how they do that pivot whenever they bring up the issues in our community. They always do this little pivot. They'll bring up like crime and single-parent households and income levels. But what they don't seem to stick to is it's not so much the income or the crime that's the problem. It's the disparity that's the issue. It's where we are as a people. If you look at all of these indicators out there, I work in finance, and there's so many indicators out there that you have to look at when you want to, take in money and invest money and whatnot. But if you look at the economics, the social, and the health indicators that are measurable, that are put out by the government, what you see is that Adolf is at the bottom of these indicators. But not only that, the distance from where we are at and where white America is like a huge gap. And it's prevalent, it's pervasive across all of these indicators. And so when you look at like lifespan, infant mortality, occupation, GDP, wealth, when you look at these things, you just see that distance between where white America is and where ADOS is, and it's so widespread, and that is truly what the issue is. And I hate that they pivot. They pick one indicator and they say, well, we need to do something about crime. Well, no, you got to do something about disparity.
That's a word. No. You got the word. What'd you say? You don't have to do something about crime. You got to do something about disparity. Is that what you saying?
The disparity of disparity. That's the true issue within our community. It's the disparity of disparity, and that's best captured in the wealth data. Absolutely. Like if our wealth levels will go up, if the disparity of disparities across all of these indicators was lessened.
Absolutely. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. You're exactly right. I appreciate you. I ain't gotta do nothing. That's not about the crime. It's about the disparity. It's about y'all locking us into these ghettos, and so there's no opportunity. And these drug crimes that were infused in our communities, these crimes are really just black market crimes because there's no job available. And then when you get out, if you get locked up after these crimes, what happens is that you can't find a job no more. So you're just kind of like a dead man walking. So that's just kind of what it is. We just need to talk about what it is. Anyway, fam, I'm going to my next caller. I am going now to 510. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what is on your mind?
Hello, Vet. My name's David from San Francisco Bay Area.
Hey, David. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I would like to suggest for your next book after this one, Sun Tzu's Art of War. And I was just curious, why you guys have not sued Joy Reid and her news station for disparaging you guys with the ADOS, saying that you guys were bots, just like that little white boy sued them for saying he was a racist.
Well, I think we don't have a lot, and I think one of the things that as individuals, because that's one of the things that we're organizing for, right? Like if you collect dues, you can say, hey, we're going to put this amount on retainer for an attorney because we're tired of this. That's kind of why the 501c4 was necessary, because she didn't talk about just Yvette. She didn't talk about just Antonio. She talked about ADOS. So you have to make ADOS into an entity, right? So once it's now that ADOS is as an entity, we can talk about you have defamed this entity. And then we can do the fundraising or dues or whatever mechanism, with total transparency, of course. But whatever mechanism is available to collect those dues, pay an attorney that retainer and say, listen, we have been libeled by these people, and I don't take that off the table at all. I just think we have to have we have to kind of institutionalize in such a sense. Like we have to make ourselves into an entity, not just like a loose group. That's part of the reason. There were a lot of reasons that went into doing the 501c4, but that was one of them, because we need to kind of aggregate resources and stuff to go after people who keep and continue to smear us over and over and over again with no evidence whatsoever. You know why there's no evidence? Because it's not true. So, that was part of the reason why we kind of said, you know what, it's time to really get organized, because we have to start fighting these people. You still there, fam?
Yeah, I'm still here. I lost you for a second.
Oh, okay. No, I said that's why we have to organize. Like that was part of the rationale. There were many elements to it, but that was part of the rationale. We have to be like an actual entity, like to say, hey, because she didn't go after us individually, and the entity of ADOS was not anchored in like we're 501c4, C3, or whatever we want to do. So we had to do that and say, okay, this is the organization, and so this is the organization that has been defamed by this person who is on TV. That's what I was saying.
Okay. And, like that little boy on the hearings, we need to go after him too, personally. We have to start really taking money out of these people's pockets instead of them defaming us like this.
Yeah, I agree. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the process. But I want to thank you for calling in. I'm going to try to get to a few more. But I think you have to anchor that into like an entity, right? Because I didn't say nothing to you. I didn't say nothing to hold on a second. I didn't say anything to about Yvette. I didn't say anything about Antonio. I just said ADOS. Well, ADOS has to be a thing. Like ADOS has to be a thing that you can defame. It has to be an entity, and that's part of the reason we make it into an entity. So you can say, hold on, you defame this organization stands for this, and you just said this, and then you have to have money too, like big money. So like this is going to be, you might not win. So if attorney knows they might not win, they're not going to be like, oh, I can just pay you out or whatever. No, you got to go give him that money, and you got to say here, and you got to say, because you're going after a network. You're just not going after a person. Like these are expensive lawsuits, so you have to organize and get everybody on board and do what you got to do to get the money that's needed to kind of do the stuff that needs to be done. So that's what that is. Anyway, I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 702. I'm coming to you. What is your name? Where are you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. I voted today, and
Good.
well, I went all the way down the ballot. There was no one of interest, even locally, as far as a human goes. So I just voted on the ballot issues and left it at that. Okay. Although I will say this, my mother and her best friend, they were sitting around and they didn't, they were looking for something to do. And so I had them make up masks that print are embroidered across the front in big gold letters, reparations. So, I I've hit her and her friend to you, and they're old school voters who, lockstep Democrat and everything. Yeah. I'm not about to go into anything where I'm going to try and change my mother's mind after all these years about anything, but actually she kind of took to it and was really okay with it. And I said, yeah, no, this is the future, and future generations are going to look back on this moment as black people taking, especially descendants of American slaves, taking over their definition of who they are, free from whatever the larger society has been trying to tell us who we are, and they no longer control the narrative. But anyway, I walked into the voting booth wearing the reparations mask, and there happened to be a couple of people ADOS in booths next to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sorry.
because I'm sure I probably would have been shown the door if I walked in with a Trump or a Biden mask or anything like that on. But how do you? And people were looking at me. The poll workers were looking at me. But it's like, how do you kick me out for having a reparations mask on? Yeah, you can't.
No, you can do. No, it's a deal.
That's my early voting story. And shout out to Stephen Horsford, who is not in my district, but notice has been sent here, sir. You are black, but from what I understand, you're not necessarily ADOS, and the future is that you're going to have a black agenda, or at some point, Stephen Horsford, you will probably not be a congressperson, and
gotta have an agenda.
That.
We're agenda driven. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We're agenda driven. I don't care what you do. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, part of the problem with Black America and the CBC is Pan-Africanism is anchored in everything. I don't care who you are. I don't care which way you wiggle or tickle. Listen, we have reparations as the heartbeat of a transformative black agenda. I don't care. Like Bernie would never have, but if he had, I would not have cared that he was Bernie. If you had brought that to me and said, here is your reparations and this black agenda, I would have said, all right, now we cooking with grease. That's what I would have said. I wouldn't have said nothing else. I wouldn't have said nothing else. But he didn't do that. So now here we are. I'm going to my last call. I am going to 267. 267. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Camille, and I'm calling from outside of Philadelphia.
Hey.
I have a question for
you. Sure, go ahead.
And I've wanted to ask the question for a couple of months now. about voting. Since we're going to vote Democratic down ballot, and there seems to still be a segment of AUS who are for reparations, but they're either not going to vote at all or they're going to vote for Trump. What I'd like to know is, how do you think that affects our push for reparations? Does it help? Does it do nothing for us? If there's people who normally vote for Democrats, but then they just don't vote, is that beneficial?
I don't think it's beneficial at all. Like the other gentleman just called, he said, I can't argue with the man. I'm not in his city. I'm not in his district. But he said, I didn't see any people worth voting for. But I voted for the initiatives or whatever on the ballot. And that's what he did. I can't argue with him. I always said that, like, even if, you're going to find somebody, because you vote for people or against people. But he said he couldn't find nobody, but he voted for or against certain initiatives, right? I think it's always a mistake to disengage the electoral process. I stand by that. Because what you also do, whether you realize it or not, once you decide that you're not voting, you stop paying attention. Because you kind of pay attention because you know you're going to end up in a voting booth. So let me see what this fool's saying. Let me see what this one's saying. He look a little, he got a little squinty eyes. He look like he's still. Like you pay attention and you stay engaged. But part of the reason you stay engaged is because you know you're going to be in a voting booth. Right? So I think when you disengage, that gives everybody that you're against, the whole white supremacist system, all these institutions that are weaponized against us, that empowers them. You have to know what is going on, who you want to vote for, who you don't want to vote for, what the initiatives are. You have to always know, because knowledge is what moves you. This whole movement is built on the knowledge of wealth and a few other things. But the knowledge of wealth and the knowledge of lack of wealth and what that comes from. Lack of knowledge is never a good thing. Like my people what? Because of lack of knowledge? Just go to your good book. I'm just saying, lack of knowledge is never a good thing. And we have to understand that, and we have to be adept at what's going on, and we have to show up to the polls. Now, voting is just one thing. It's not going to save everything. There's a lot you have to do in terms of your advocacy. It's one tool in the toolbox. It's like a screwdriver or something. You got all kind of hammers and stuff in there. You got all kind of stuff. But it's still a tool that you use. And so I'm still in favor of showing up or mailing it in or however you decide to cast your vote.
Can I ask one more question now? Can I add something to that?
Sure, quickly.
If, let's say, those people who aren't going to vote are not disengaged, though, I just want to know, as far as the Democrats are concerned, if they see that there is a segment of the voting population that hasn't voted, does that say anything to them?
No, it ain't never said nothing to them. It ain't never
fall in the statistics.
It's never said nothing to them. I mean, they'll go and say, well, we had a bunch of people who didn't vote, and we'll try to get them to turn out. But no, it don't never really say nothing to them. They don't really care when people just sit at home. People understand why. Those of you who got a bunch of text messages and calls like I did, harassment basically, understand what that means. People are pushing you because they know you vote. Hey, you over there, you vote. We got to get you. They're vying for you. People will always try to, that's why they contact you, because you vote. Like, yeah, they're going to try to get out whoever they can. But like, especially when you're ADOS, like they happy if you don't come outside and vote for nothing. They wonderful. If you don't decide to come outside, or even if you don't decide to come outside for a tax increase or decrease, they so happy when we stay home. Like, no, I'm going out, but I'm not going to give neither one of y'all the White House, but I'm going to be there. And I'm going to be there every time there's a time to vote. I'm going to show up. But I'm going to show up with specificity. That's the key to me. So thank you, caller. I appreciate you. I don't know if I dropped you already or what. I appreciate you calling in, though. But you have to show up with your agenda in mind. But show up, you do. I don't care if you have to show up and vote for. Is there a line? Do you have to? Because zoning is important. Like how you vote on zoning is very important. They can put whole they can put whole garbage disposal stuff in your neighborhood because you didn't show up to vote on a zoning law. All that stuff is important. Don't listen to people who tell you just the best thing you can do is stay at home and put your warm socks on. No, that's not. No, that's not it. That ain't it. And that, not everywhere has a very, very long line. So it's I took a run today and I ran by mine and I didn't see nothing going on over there. It depends on where you are, but like you have to stay engaged. The one thing that the enemy loves is for us to be disengaged and not pay attention, because they can take all the monies and everything that they want. But that is the end of the show, fam. If you all didn't get through, I apologize, and we will try to get to you next time, next show. You know how it is, fam. But I want to thank everybody who called in. This was a wonderful show in terms of calls. I think it was an absolutely wonderful show in terms of calls, and I want to thank everybody who called in. Please do not forget, like I said at the top of the show, please do not forget December 10th, The Half Has Never Been Told. December the 10th, we will be reading this book. It may spill over to the next day, but please do not forget that book. Please hit that like button before you leave out of here, family. Please hit that like button. Please, if you can, share. Also, please make sure if you have not subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell. All of that good stuff, family. Also, make sure that if you do want to donate, you can always do that. But make sure that you can go to $breakingbrown, or you can go to patreon.com/ycarnell, or donatebrown.com, however you want to do it. But hitting that subscribe button costs you no money. Hitting that bell to make sure you get notifications costs you nothing. Hitting that like button costs you nothing. So do that for me, fam. And we will be back next time. Please keep it easy breezy, fam. Wear your mask. We do not have any kind of we don't have no cure, and COVID is hit or miss. Some people get sick and some people don't even know they got it. It's hit or miss. And then some people have symptoms for a long time. Wear your mask. Take care of yourself. Don't let these people bother you or bully you. Take a warm bath and just be easy breezy. We will talk next time, fam. Thank you. Love all y'all.